afternoon, everybody. It's Rhonda here from Nelson's Soapery. Today we're going to be making some beautiful licorice candy soap. So we're going to start with some beautiful shea butter and some cocoa butter. These are organic, certified from Deluxe Shea. And then I also do have some coconut oil in here as well. Now, if you're using soap calc, it's called Coconut Oil 76 because there is a couple different coconut oil options. So make sure you click on the 76 when you're looking at the recipes. Inside my bucket here, I've already measured up my olive oil. I also have some rice bran oil in here, some castor oil and some sweet almond oil, as well as a little bit of sodium lactate, which is a salt-derived product, and that's going to help our bar to release a little bit easier from the silicone slab mold. And in this little container here, I've already measured up my fragrance oil. This one is called Licorice, and it's from Pure Candle Supplies. And at the start, when I was first trying to get some of this, they actually got it in for me, and they keep it in now because they know I love it, and I know it's a big seller because it works amazing in soap. It does not discolor at all, doesn't seize the soap. It's a beautiful one to use. So if you're looking for a good, clean one for soap, and licorice is very popular. I know that you might think, oh, that's a bit funny. It's a food kind of scent, but licorice is very, very popular, and I do get lots and lots of men that love it. And one that's a great twist on licorice is if you do licorice and peppermint. That is actually a really nice soap as well. I've done a few of those in the past, and they always sell super well. So like I said, we've got all of our beautiful ingredients sitting here. Now, the next thing we need to do is with my hard butters that you can see in the purple bowl, we're going to go and take that over to my crock pot, as some of you call it, but in Australia we call it a slow cooker. And all I'm going to do is put this one on low, and then we're just going to pour it in. Obviously, I'm doing this with one hand to show you, so it's a bit hard. So I will pop it in, and I will come back to show you it melting inside the pot and what we need to be looking for this particular melting process. So you can see now I popped it all in here, and we're just going to turn the dial on low. It's going to take maybe 2 or 3 hours to get down to a really nice temperature, or melt pool, I should say, because we want it really melted. And once it's melted, just leave it to cool off because we want it at room temperature. So now here you go. I have all of my micas ready, what I'm going to use. So I have a gorgeous Kermit green, a beautiful bold sort of blue. I do have a highlighted pink, and then the black is going to represent my licorice. Now, remember, when you're using black, you need to use a lot of black to make the bar go black. Otherwise, it's going to go grey, or it will go a dirty greeny grey. So you do need to use it. And basically, the easiest way to think about this is you're really going to be using 500, for every 500 grams of oil, you can use 1 tablespoon of mica. That's generally what you can use. So in here, I've taken out some of the oils that were inside my bucket that we showed before. So I'm not adding extra oils. These are already part of my recipe. So I'm just adding these into these little cups. These are biodegradable and recyclable cups. And now we're just going to add a little bit in each, and then we're going to add the mica that we want in here and just mix it. So to be really honest, once your butters are sitting there and they're melted down, you've already made your lye, because I make my lye the night before. I'm sitting them down, trying to make sure that they're going to be room temperature. Then I go over and I mix this before I do the next bit. So like I said, you know, we're just going to add a little bit in these cups. We're really not going to do a massive amount. I'm probably going to have 250 grams of soap liquid in each of them. So I don't really need a lot of colour. It's just to add that bold colour through the black soap. Because if you think of licorice all sorts or licorice candy kind of lollies, they're always, you know, dark black, and then they have those bold kind of colours. So that's what I'm going for with this soap. And I have made this soap before. I've sold out of it already. I think this is actually my 3rd slab of this soap, which means, what's that, 7, 14, 21. So that's about 21 kilos of licorice soap I've sold in the last probably 8 months. So it's a lot of licorice soap. So now here we go. Like I said, we're just going to add all the colors. The black I'm using is from Sud Off. It's called Unlucky Black. It is a cosmetic grade mica. It's a really, really good mica. I use only their micas. I don't buy them from anywhere else. I've just been super happy with them since I started using them some time ago. And like I said, they're really, really, good. So all I'm doing is literally I just set everything up. Now I'm just going to mix them. If you're using, like a fluorescent, make sure you mix the fluorescent really, really well, and make sure you grind it against the side of the cup and things like that, because for some reason the fluorescents always end up being more grainy, and they leave like little chunks of graininess in the soap. So it's really important that that one in particular is mixed super duper well. And one thing too, if you're making your soap and you sort of feel like, oh, it's not bold enough, you can pour or put, like a spoon straight into the soap mixture. The only thing is often it doesn't mix super well, and it's much harder to blend it. So this is the best way to do it. And especially if you're new to soap making, I definitely suggest that you pre-mix your colours like this and mix everything up. So now we're going to making the soap. So I'm just pouring in the lye, and as I said, I actually make my lye a day or so before, so just so it's really cool. And for anyone that doesn't know, lye is distilled water and sodium hydroxide, and that mixed with oils is what's going to make soap. There is no other way around it. That's just literally what makes soap, unless you make melt and pour. But today we're concentrating on cold process soap, aren't we? So now we're just going to blend it. And one thing that, you may not know if you've not made a massive slab mold before, but it's not like making a small one where you just literally have to do tiny bursts. With this, what actually happens is you're going to have to mix this for quite some time, a good 5 minutes or more. But generally what I do is do bursts of like 30 seconds. Then I just mix it around, use the stick mixer, use it like a spoon and just mix it, and then leave it. And then I do a couple more bursts and I keep going. That's basically what I'm doing. Now, I don't want this to get to a trace. You definitely don't want that to get to a trace, because we just want it basically blended in together so it looks like soap. Then we're going to pour a little bit in each of the coloured cups, because remember, we need to also blend all of these ones again and then blend the black into the main one. So we don't want it to get too thick. So that's basically the reason why we're going to be doing it this way. So hopefully that makes sense, because I get a lot of people asking me about how much time do you blend it for. And when you're making soap that is palm free, it does not get as thick as if you're using palm oil or animal fats, because that gets a lot thicker. So this will stay thinner for longer. But I'm using a high content of shea, because I've changed my recipe a tiny bit to add more shea in it, a little bit less coconut, so that it's not as cleansing. So it's lower in cleansing, higher in super fats. But honestly, all of that's a little bit tricky to understand. That's probably for another video. I will also be doing a video this week for my Patreons, because they get 52 more videos a year than anyone else. And I will actually this week, I will break down exactly what a soap costs from a slab to every individual gram, so that everyone can understand the pricing, the costing, and so on, because that is really tricky to understand if you're trying to sell it and trying to make money. So anyway, you can see here what I'm doing is I'm literally just, popping in the colour into the little bit of soap that I've added into the individual jugs. And that way we're going to just blend all the colours. We will have them ready, and then we can do the technique that we want to do, which is basically just in the pot swirl, which basically means you've got your main colour, and then you're just going to pour these individual colours once they're mixed up into the main soap container, and then literally pour it straight into the slab. It's quite easy. But I have to say, this is the bit that I actually find quite satisfying. I really find pouring it in really satisfying into the big silicone mold. So, and for anyone wanting to know to put this in soap calc, basically my recipe here is 6,600 grams. Exactly, that's basically what it is, and that fills the mold up to exactly the finish line. It's not too short, not too high. It's exactly to the finish line. So that's basically what I've done. But this one, I think I did add a tiny bit more because I wanted some sample soaps, because I often do some little guest soaps and sell them separately, especially to wholesale clients. So you can see here I'm adding in the fragrance. Make sure you mix the fragrance super well, because if you don't, that is really harsh and can sting somebody's body. So please make sure that you're really mixing that well. It's really, really vitally important that everything is mixed in well, because you've got to remember that soap, it is a chemical reaction with soap. And as makers, we have a responsibility of making sure we're getting somebody a really good quality, soap in the end. We don't want to be giving somebody something that, the lye isn't mixed in or something like that, because that can become a dangerous product. So please make sure you take a lot of attention. And I always do this when I have no children, no pets around. I can just think about it myself. And often you'll see when I make soap, I do a voiceover, and that's so that I'm not stressed doing the video, and I'm also not stressed, making a mistake or putting the wrong thing in or just doing something wrong. So anyway, that's my little mumsy talk on that. And now you can see I've added in the black into the base, because this is the main part of the recipe, because we want the soap to look like licorice, which of course is a blacky color. And then I'm adding the rest of the fragrance oil. I have actually measured all of that up. So please note that I definitely did measure everything. I weigh absolutely everything. So now we're just going to get the colours that we've already mixed and blended, and we're just literally going to pour them. I usually pour in 4 lots, so it means I'm going to do, you can see one there, one on that side, one on the opposite side, and one at the far end. So it basically means I'm pouring in 4 spots, and each time that I pour the next colour, I'm literally going to pour them in roughly the same spot, and that way when you pour it out, it just has a beautiful rainbow colour kind of effect. So here is the pink. The pink really makes it look jazzy and really does stand out. And one thing too that is important, sometimes people will say, oh, I used something in the shower and the colour ran out a tiny bit. Sometimes you're going to have that. If you use a lot of colour, you may have colours run out in the shower. It will not stain anything. It's fine. It's going down the drain. But sometimes that does happen. So here is the pour. I forgot to do the pour, and then I had to take this video off one that I'd put on Instagram, but I'm sure that you won't mind. And then, of course, my video stopped working here. But basically, I just save a few spoonfuls for the top, because that way we can just make this look really beautiful. We're going to give a rainbow type top. And once we give the rainbow top, it's just going to look really pretty, and it just really does look nice at the end of making our soap. So let's just continue adding all of these beautiful colours on top. Once we add the colours on top, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get like a little kebab stick. And once you get a kebab stick, then you can actually just drag the colours through each other. You can swirl it underneath if you want as well, to get the colours to come from, within the soap and on. But I don't really like that. Personally, I only just get the kebab stick, drag the colours that just are on top, just to give the top a really, really beautiful kind of colour. So that's what I'm doing. And you can see on top, like you don't really need much at all. You don't need to keep much of the colour at all, because you don't want to waste the soap. You do want to make sure that you use every bit. And if you can see my soap now that's in the silicone mould, you can see how it comes right to the top. And that's what I was saying before within my recipe, how I do make sure that it comes right to the top. And if there's anything left, I just put it in separate little molds, and you can sell that separately. So here I literally just drag it across the soap, and like I said, it is a little kebab stick. You can use a chopstick, you can use a branch, the end of a knife, I mean anything. But obviously once you use it, it is designated to soap. You can't be using that to eat with once you use it for soap. So definitely keep your utensils just for soap making. And then you can go across as much as you want. But do remember, if you do this too much, you'll kind of muddy the colours and you'll lose the effect of those beautiful bold colours sitting on top. So sort of try not to mix it too much. And of course, typical me, I always think, what can I put on top, you know? And my husband says I'm like a crazy scientist thinking of all different things. But I'm using my biodegradable glitter. And for most of you, you probably know that generally all of my soap, well, all of it actually is palm free. It's 100% palm free. I do not use animal byproducts unless it's a honey soap or a goat's milk. They're the only time I would use them. And of course, all of the glitters are biodegradable, and then the shea butter, cocoa butter, and so on, they are organic, and they are a fair trade that I'm using as well, because I really do care what I put in the product, and I care about the people that are manufacturing everything that I'm doing as well. So now we have finished that. Here is the next day. How exciting we get to see the soap. This is everyone's favorite bit. And don't those swirls look super, super cool? I mean, I just love them. I mean, you know, a bit of color is really fantastic. And definitely the feedback I've been getting at the markets, because I've done 2 more markets this year. I've come back to markets. And the big feedback that everyone is telling me that they really love that my soaps have a little colour in them, and they just love the packaging. So that's been super important to note. And also at the market, soap is definitely my biggest seller, what has been the last couple markets. So I'll keep watching that and seeing how I go. But generally I sell about 50 bars of soap a market, sometimes less, but generally that's kind of the average that I would sell per market. And even if it's not Christmas, I still sell generally around the same. To be honest, I don't sell that much more Christmas time. It's generally always the same. But do remember, everyone, if you have a bad market or a good market, sometimes it can depend on whether you're also telling people to see you there. Make sure you pop it on social media so they can see, you know, where you're going to be, so that you can bring these soaps. And that's generally what I do. So I'm showing you a few here. Don't they look beautiful? It kind of looks like a geo, you know, that geo kind of rock formation, but in a bright electric colour, I think. So I hope that everybody is loving seeing all of this. And I've loved bringing this video to all of you. A huge, big shout out to all of my Patreons. I have to give a big shout out, and especially Kelly, who has joined my Patreon in the last few days and joined at the highest level. So a big shout out to Kelly. Your support has really helped me. I'm just so grateful. And to everyone that is joining me on Patreon, and all of you YouTube people watching me, because that does help. You know, I do get paid through YouTube like many of us do that are creators. This is my full-time job, working on YouTube, Patreon, making soap. That is actually my full-time job. Anyway, thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time. Bye for now.